So let's talk about our good old Sam Bankman-Fried. We'll talk about him multiple times too until he's in jail, rightfully in jail. He's done a couple interviews, one with a small YouTuber named Tiffany Fong. He's done another interview with George Stephanopoulos. He did an interview with CNBC, a guy from CNBC. And I will just distill all of these interviews down to you and basically tell you what he's saying. He's saying that he did not knowingly defraud people. He didn't commingle funds intentionally. It was just a surprise and just a failure of risk management that Alameda was gambling with a bunch of FTX funds. And when pressed on what mistakes he made, he'll talk about, not having somebody do proper risk management and, making the wrong bets, making bets that were too risky. But he'll just gloss over that's all well and good, and that's true. But this would be like if you stole $1,000 from me and you went to the casino and gambled it and you lost it, and the only thing you had to say were all the mistakes you made gambling it. Like, oh, I shouldn't have hit on 17, or oh man, I went all in on this poker hand and I really shouldn't have done that. Like, all of that may be true, but we're glossing over the fact you fucking stole my money to go to the casino. What's your explanation for that? And he will just say something like, I don't know, I didn't steal anything, we mislabeled funds. And then suddenly my ugly girlfriend over at Alameda, she had $10 billion, and then she just made some bad bet, and poor risk management. Like, no. Nobody cares about the risk management. What about the theft? And I won't even use a more sanitized term of misappropriation. That's just a sanitized term for theft, is it not? You're using money from here that shouldn't be used over there. And you lie to your customers about how it would be used.
Yeah. And
That's
he damn well
theft.
knew that's what he was doing.
Right. That money was put in your custody for you to do certain things with it, and you did other things with it.
Yep.
That's theft. That's not misappropriation. Use plain terms so that people understand what is really going on. Theft, not bad risk management, and to some people's credit, like the CNBC guy and even Tiffany Fong, they push back a little. They say, well, why were those funds even being used? Hinting that you were not supposed to be using those funds. That's the real problem. You're stealing money, essentially. He doesn't really acknowledge that. He tries to play either stupid or that his role was limited. And, it was the apparatus that mislabeled funds, and somehow billions of dollars ended up, from FTX, ended up in Alameda's coffers for them to gamble with. The guy just needs to go to jail. And even though I think that because he, gave money to the Democrats, and the mainstream media will do its best to cover for him, like we saw them try to do at the outset. They tried to put out these fluff pieces about him and his girlfriend, and the language was laughable. It didn't even mention fraud,
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is so big. They can't, even if you have powerful friends, at some point you fucked up so much that your powerful friends, they can't cover for you, right? Like I'm sure that the MSM would love to cover for Joe Biden. They do. They still don't believe he's senile. So there are great lengths they will go to cover for you. However, if Biden stepped out into the street and shot a kid in the face, they would stop covering for him because he's just too far gone. It's just, they can't go that far. They would have to say, well, I guess you are a murderer and should not be president anymore. They would have to say that. And I think that SBF is pretty much at that point. And these interviews really, they don't do him any favors. I know he tries to act conciliatory and remorseful, but the things he says and the way he shirks responsibility, I don't think it's doing him any favors. And the people in power who want to cover who are inclined to cover for him, they just can't anymore. He will be arrested at some point, and hopefully he'll serve time.
Did you see, actually, I'm not sure if it was if it was fake or whatever, but it showed, I think, when he was doing the interview with, is it New York Times?
New York Times, CNBC, yeah.
Okay, yeah. There are people clapping for him. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I think I heard that. That's, maybe they were clapping at something the interviewer said. That we don't want to.
No.
You'd have to clip it though. Let's not draw conclusions.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe, but maybe. I didn't listen to the whole thing. The whole thing is not out there for public consumption, I don't think, is it? Oh, no, that's the Stephanopoulos one. Yeah, you can watch a CNBC interview and see what you think. I think he's obviously a crook just trying to deflect responsibility
Hmm.
for a really obvious. It's really obvious what happened. He stole money and gambled it, and he lost. It's not a very complicated story.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he goes to jail at least 11 years. That's what Elizabeth Holmes got. I think it should be more.
Should be more.
It should be more because Madoff got 150 years, right? And here's the problem: Elizabeth Holmes, her fraud only really hurt rich people and investors, didn't it? Right, generally. So politically, it's not as much of a hot potato, and there's not probably not as much political pressure to give her a lot of time. But once your fraud hurts more average people, there's political
Hmm.
pressure now,
Hmm.
and that will matter. He's in trouble.
Although I guess the average people that were hurt should mostly be outside of the U.
Did
According to
F
him,
did FTX US
yeah,
get their money back? They haven't gotten their money back. It's
they haven't
frozen.
got their money back. But according to, if you, I mean, I don't know, SBF
Oh, he
thinks
says
that,
they're solvent though. He says they're solvent.
yeah, yeah.
I don't believe a goddamn thing he says. He's not even the CEO anymore. And oh, another thing we should mention, he claims that he gave like $37 million to the Republicans in dark money. He says, "Well, nobody mentions that." Like, well, prove it. Prove that you gave them $37 million because a person who has lied this much has zero credibility, okay?
Hmm.
How many I no, you need to prove every single thing you say. I don't believe at all that he gave $37 million to Republicans, especially when you had a line item in your budget that said defeat Trump. It doesn't seem plausible that you did, okay? At most, I think he gave money to some of the more extreme GOP candidates during the primaries to try to, push forward bad candidates. That's what I think happened.